Around this time a year ago, I made a video about Fox's NASCAR coverage of the Spring Talladega race and how poorly it was directed. While a lot of complaints from fans were about the overall direction of the broadcast, i.e. cameras focusing on the wrong things, or the switching of cameras at bad times like in the middle of something happening, today's race at Las Vegas highlighted two other problems that I noticed. My main takeaway was Fox's lack of informing the viewer on strategy calls, especially during green flag pit stops. Late in the race before the final yellow, you had Joey Logano, Josh Berry, Tyler Reddick, and Denny Hamlin trying to stretch the fuel. I turned my head for like 1 second and noticed that Hamlin was no longer in the top 4. I don't know if I missed it or what, but Hamlin comes down pit road with roughly 35 to go. Fox cuts away to a mini-map that shows Hamlin parked on pit road. It was only when Reddick pitted a lap later that I was able to rub my two brain cells together to realize that he and Hamlin were short pitting in an attempt to make a run on fresh tires, while others were gambling on fuel on old tires had the race stayed green to the end. I understand that green flag pit stops have a lot of moving parts. I'm sure it's difficult to be aware of everything that's happening and relaying that info in a clear and concise way. I just think that NBC has done a lot better with things like that, and that's mainly because they have had Steve Letarte in the booth. Fox has basically moved Larry Mack to a side part of the broadcast when he would be more valuable back in the booth in my opinion. It can sometimes be awkward when you have two former drivers paired with the play-by-play guy. Sure, it has worked before with like Benny Parsons and Ned Jarrett, or Benny and Wally Dallenbach, but I just don't think Harvick and Boyer have great chemistry in the booth as announcers, even though they seem to always get along as teammates in real life. But those guys in the booth, all three of them, are hampered by the overall direction. There's been multiple examples in the past few years of Boyer trying to make a point about something, and he audibly begs direction to not switch to something else, only for them to immediately switch to something irrelevant as he's making his point. I sometimes get really irritated when watching a race on Fox because they like to use an obscene amount of zoom, have a terrible tendency to show irrelevant things at important times, like showing the back of a grandstand while Bell and Kyle Busch were battling for the lead at COTA in the last laps, and the lack of static shots. All of these things add up to leave us desiring more when it comes to the direction from Fox. The other big thing today was when the final caution came out and everyone pitted, and the race off pit road was extremely crucial, Fox did not show who took none, 2, or 4 tires. It was only after a little pause that Larry Mack had to inform the booth himself that Suarez had taken 4, and because he won the race off pit road, I guess we just had to assume that everyone else also took 4 tires. Whether a genuine mistake or not, I did find it kind of funny that the graphic for tire choice during yellow flag stops was there all day, every single time except for the most important caution of the day. Beyond that, you have the same complaints everyone has had about Fox for several years, like the cartoon pictures of drivers instead of normal headshots. This is a Fox Sports thing overall, and I did read somewhere that some higher up at Fox loves the cartoons, so they stick around for every sport. Those honestly do not bother me too much. I think the cartoon thing is kind of just nitpicking, but what does bother me as it pertains to the cartoon drivers is Fox not showing the cars on the starting grid graphic. It seems like this could be an easy addition. I mean, back in the day, NBC would just take pictures of the cars in the garage each week, so you'd have your bases covered for all the different schemes that everybody runs. Another weird thing I have noticed this year is weird color grading on some of their coverage of practice and qualifying, like they have drained all the saturation out of the image. I'm no cinematographer, so I don't know what's causing all that or why, but it's enough to where I notice it with my naked eye. This weekend though, they might have fixed it because on their Saturday coverage on Amazon Prime, the picture did seem to be tuned right. But overall, today's race just highlighted again how far Fox has fallen in their NASCAR coverage. It was once the gold standard back in the day. I've been a big fan of Mike Joy since I can remember, but it really just sucks to see him have to deal with all this to try to put on a good broadcast. Either way, I'll be curious to see how Amazon and TNT do this summer, and how NBC responds with the amount of changes their team has gone through. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.